Hey, it's Halicue. Before we even get started, I just want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the beautiful, the bold, the brilliant Black women of the 92%. Y'all, we are on one. It is Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. We're ready for this. The reason this movement, the movement of the 92%, is happening right now, it is absolutely because we are ready. We have everything that we need as a collective, mentally, emotionally, physically, to take this step back, to retreat into ourselves, nurturing ourselves today. We're talking about guilt and the guilt trip trap that other communities are trying to lay for us right now. They are trying to trip us up right out of the gate. It's only been a few weeks since that goat rodeo of an inauguration. It is only the beginning of Black History Month. But let me just tell you, between Doechie's win, Beyonce finally winning Album of the Year, I'm telling y'all, the messages that are coming out, the support that we are giving each other. We have so much to share and so much to talk about today. I have yet, of the tens of thousands of Black women that I know are in community with me, there are millions of us, but the ones that are in community to me, the ones that are talking to me right now, I have yet to hear one of us say, I think this is a bad idea. I think we're on the wrong road. No, I haven't heard that yet. All I'm hearing is how women are resting, how they're getting into their hobbies, why they feel so strongly about this, and how unbothered they are about the stress everybody else is going through right now because of the consequences of their own actions. I know this is the right time for us. I am so excited. This is supposed to be our fun banter. And even though I've come in kind of hot and kind of serious, I want us to get excited. I am so excited to talk to us about guilt because we just need to knock this out of the way. We need to get guilt out of the way. It's going to be the one thing, the last little strip, that last little filament of strong Black woman syndrome that this entire country conditioned us to believe, has programmed us into just fulfilling. We are so close to being free from that. And this episode is your permission. This episode is your justification in letting that go. We're going to share some resources. I'm going to share some journaling prompts to help us process it, to get through it. But off top, know that our cause, the cause of the Black women of the 92%, is righteous. I'm not even churchy like that. Actually, I think a lot of churches do us a lot of damage, but I'm not going into that right now. That's another episode, and we'll get into it. We'll have some conversation about it if y'all want to. As always, I want you all to get involved in the conversation. Go over to my Substack community. The link is down below in the description. I want you to join me. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. In doing that, you're giving energy to our movement. You're helping amplify it, and come get in community because I want to hear from you. Let's go ahead and talk about guilt so we can get out of the way. Okay. And specifically the guilt that Black women are supposed to feel whenever we choose ourselves. Because apparently just us resting, just us trying to take a moment for ourselves, just to recover, just to deal with the hurt, because it's okay for us to talk about the hurt. I'm going to be doing an entire series about who the 92% are. But the long and short of it is, after the pain and the hurt of this election, after they rejected one of the best of us, once they told us we'll never be good enough, we just don't trust y'all no matter what, no matter how hard you've worked, no matter how much you've proven over and over and over again, whether it's in the corporate sector, the social justice sector, the healthcare sector, law and law enforcement. Yeah, we just don't trust y'all. We don't trust Black women. That's really it. We gonna trust this convicted felon predator over y'all. Yeah, that hurt, y'all. It took us being hurt that badly to finally, as a collective, begin to protect ourselves and to commit to regenerating ourselves, to reinvesting in ourselves first, okay? And the reason I want to talk about guilt is because I knew it. I knew this was going to be the first thing they used or they did to try to trip us up. And they already have, they've already started. They're already calling us lazy, calling us apathetic because we are prioritizing ourselves. Yeah, because apparently resting, healing, centering our joy makes us, can you believe that? Makes us Black women selfish, lazy. Cannot believe it. And the sad part is, it's not just white people. It's other marginalized groups because they are the ones on the receiving end of a lot of violence, on the receiving end of a lot of corruption, a lot of betrayal. They're terrified right now. And the first people they turn around to point the finger at and ask, why aren't we showing up, is Black women. Why? Because they know that the guilt works. They know that we've been conditioned to always put ourselves in front of the firing squad. We've been doing it in every political movement. We've been the engine behind it. We've been the fire behind it. We've been the soul behind it. That's why everybody wants us at the front of these stupid marches. They want us holding hands. They want us singing to get the vibes going so they can show up, hold their sign, and feel like they did something. We're not doing that anymore. And because we're not doing it anymore, everybody's mad about it. And they're trying to guilt trip us. That's why we're talking about it. Y'all have seen it in the comments. They're saying that our decision to sit these next 4 years out to get out of this toxic, awful relationship with these social justice movements and other communities that are used to us taking all the hits first, it's an abusive relationship. And we've decided to opt out of it. And just like an abuser, they're trying to guilt us and blame us. But no, Black women are ready for a loving relationship, a reciprocal relationship, okay? That not only from the outside looks healthy, but is actually healthy on the inside. And so that's why we're focusing on ourselves. We're getting right ourselves first. We're tired of not getting the credit, just like in an abusive relationship, for doing all of the physical and emotional labor. And I cannot believe these people are actually calling us apathetic and lazy. Are you kidding me? But that's just a piece of the whole situation. I cannot believe the audacity, but they really are out here trying to shame us because we're no longer available to fight their political and social justice battles. And what they're really mad about is the fact that it's not that because we're doing something else to build something else. They're mad because the thing that we're building up now is us. They are so pissed. They are so used to Black women off top, just giving everything away. But what I want us to know first and foremost is that guilt is a tool. It's a tool used to keep Black women in fear and sickness and in mental paralysis. And today, together with this podcast, with this movement, with our being in collective work and energy with each other as Black women first, we are dismantling it. We're going to start dismantling it piece by piece. And by the end of this episode, you're going to understand why guilt is the enemy of our joy and why stepping into our freedom as Black women is the most rebellious and beautiful act of all. All right. So I want y'all to stay with me because I'm here to tell you guilt is not a virtue. For Black women, it's not. And we no longer have any time for it. And before I get into why this is so personal for me, why it's so real for me, and I know if it's personal and real for me, it's personal and real for all of us, because I'm going to tell you exactly why. I know you're going to see within yourself when you hear this, how deeply ingrained guilt is and what an effective tool it has been for the oppressor, and sometimes even in our own community, for people to get us to do what they want, to control us. Before we get into that, it's so important to go subscribe to the Hey, It's Halicue community over on Substack. Y'all know I love Substack. It's a lot of beautiful, smart, brilliant, intelligent Black women over there. And we're so free on that platform. We can do so much, all of the different ways that we love to express, we can do on that platform. And the channel is growing, the community is growing. There's so many ways for us to stay in connection over there. We have lives together over there. We can share our little short videos with each other over there. We share our beautiful written word essays over there. Okay. We podcast together over there. So get over there and join the community. All you got to do is look up, Hey, It's Halicue, or just look up Halicue. Y'all know I'm the only Halicue on the internet. That's just the way that turned out. Shout out to Grandma Halicue. Love you. Love you, rest you. So there's that. Please go over and subscribe. And I'm so happy to have y'all here. And let me tell y'all, I just want to share as we're going to get into it. Before we get into finally dismantling, because once we get rid of guilt, y'all, the myth of the strong Black superwoman is about to die. It's going to be gone forever. We're going to crush it into powder, into the dust. Another Black woman told me today on TikTok, she auctioned off her strong Black woman cape on eBay. Y'all are hilarious. Like, this is again why I know this is the time. This is the time for this moment. So I want to tell y'all, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, when did guilt become implanted in me, become ingrained in me, become programmed in me? And it is a very Black story. It's my little Black girl story. I grew up a Black girl in Southern Mississippi. I grew up into a home of two very beautiful talented Black people, my dad and my mom, unbelievably talented, unbelievably skilled, unbelievably successful in their own field, but they were not good together. It was a very violent marriage. My mother, after years, when I was about 8 or 9 years old, finally worked up the courage and the resources to be able to leave my dad. It was very violent. It was very scary. But guilt over things, and we grew up in the church and everything, but guilt wasn't a part of my life until my parents' divorce. And it was an abusive relationship. My dad, for his beauty and his brilliance, was a very scary man. What can I say? And not too hard on my parents. They grew up during freaking basically the Jim Crow era and freaking the civil rights era of Southern Mississippi. Still both managed to be these accomplished attorneys. My mom's a judge. Like, they achieved so much, but they were scarred people. And I'm the eldest daughter, but I was thinking about it, like, guilt. When did that first happen? And I'll never forget. It was really the beginning of when I no longer felt like a child. When all of a sudden I went from, other than the trauma of watching this abusive relationship, it was wildly, frighteningly violent, like, relationship. Other than that trauma, when my mom finally got divorced and it was just her on her own working, we lived together with my aunts. But for the most part, it was 3 Black women struggling to make it on their own in their various fields. My aunts were nurses. We're all kind of brought up together in that house. Like, after the divorce, my aunt sheltered my mom, like, during the roughest parts. But I'll never forget, we were living all together. I forget what house it was, but I think it was like that first house on Curran Street. And my grandmother just came in the house angry, just came in mad, yelling, screaming. Like, she walked in, she sees the house, she sees the kitchen. There must have been dishes, there must have been stuff. And I must have been just playing, not really being concerned with it. Because there was a point in my life where I didn't care about the dishes. As Black women, can we agree to bond over that there was a point in time in our life where we became very concerned with the dishes? Were there dishes in the sink? Was the sink clean? Was the food put up? Was the kitchen put up? Like, at some point, every Black woman I know, for some reason, that's a very, 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 very important part of our life, more so than any other people that I've ever met. And my grandmother must have came in and saw that there were dishes in that sink or whatever, or something wasn't cleaned up. And all of a sudden that became my problem in a very big way. I'm not going to be too much on my grandmother, God rest her. She is the woman that taught me how to be a lady to the tips of my fingers. But I remember that moment. And all of a sudden I realized, oh, it's my problem. I could undergo horrible punishment, being berated, hit, if this kitchen wasn't clean. And I remember being so shocked, like, this was coming from my grandmother. Like, this was the first time I'd ever gotten this kind of energy in any way from any adult in my life. I remember it like it was yesterday, that all of a sudden the kitchen, cooking, cleaning is all of a sudden like my job. And I remember my grandmother saying to me, like, I ought to be ashamed. I ought to be ashamed that I let my mother's kitchen look like this. 9 years old, 9, maybe 10, that I ought to be ashamed. And that if I really loved my mother, I would make sure that there was never a dish in the sink and the kitchen was clean at all times. Now, at that point, 3 adults and 2 children lived, not 2, maybe 3 children lived in the house, my little cousin. And that was when guilt was implanted in me. And it's a very Black girl story. I bet each and every one of us can go back and think and remember, like, when guilt became very personal for us. And it was used as a tool. It was true. And it worked. It worked. I had seen my mother go through so much, so many horrible, horrible, horrible things. And what I just learned in that moment was that I was a part of that I was responsible for it, and I could fix it for my mother. Can you imagine the insanity of that I could fix everything that had happened to my mom by making sure the kitchen was clean. Oh Lord, by making sure the kitchen was clean, making sure the dishes were done, making sure. And then of course it expands into the house being clean, the floors being swept, the leaves being raked. That's when it first started. I should always be thinking about somebody else before myself. And I was told that over and over and over again. I know I'm not alone. I know we have different examples of it, but I want us to investigate that. That is our first journal prompt. I want us to think about right now, and it's going to give us strength as we move forward in this movement. We're giving ourselves 4 years minimum to unlearn this, to release this guilt. And I want us to hit it out of the park. Black girls, we always do everything brilliantly right out of the gate. All we got to do is look at, like, the phenomenon of Hillman-Tuck University. If y'all know what that is, go look it up. It's hilarious. Like, Black women actually, as our first group project, without having a meeting, without saying this is what we're doing, decided that we were going to make an online university. We decided that that's what we're doing. We're going to create an online university. Hillman Talk. Look it up. Seriously, go look it up. There's a Black woman. Her name is Dr. Barlow over on TikTok. She's doing an actual African American studies class. She's an actual professor. And she decided to do a little TikTok account for her students and to give them assignments, whatever, to try to take advantage of this new technology to help integrate all the things that we're learning in the classroom. Black women on TikTok heard this and then just made ourselves a part of her class. There are hundreds of thousands of us. We decided, those of us that were professors, that were instructors, we were going to be a part of it too. We were going to be part, first of all, of Dr. Barlow's class. We're all enrolling because now that we have all this extra time, because we're stepping back, we're the 92%. We say, we're not doing this no more. We're not doing everybody else's labor. So now we got free time. So what do Black women do when we got free time? We go back to school. So we created a whole online university. There's over 400 classes being offered right now on quote unquote Hillman Talk. They're turning it into its own thing. They're going to have their own website. If you want to be a professor, you can sign up, but there's still a lot of free mini courses online at TikTok. So I'm just saying, since we hit it out of the gate, let's go ahead and hit this journal prompt out of the gate. Let's go ahead and eliminate and release guilt out of the gate. So our first journal prompt is this: what is your origin story as a Black girl with guilt? What is it? And I want us to go all the way back to the beginning. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. And I want us to journal through that. Give us some pages. I don't care how you do your journaling. I don't care if you're talking to yourself in the shower. I'm neurodivergent. I talk to myself all the time. I don't care if you're talking to yourself in the mirror while you're putting on makeup, talking about it. I don't care if you're doing the artist way and you wake up and you want to write it down. Let's do it. Let's get into it. Okay. That's our first journal prompt. And that's my story. That's where I started. Society has sold us this idea, even if it starts in our own home, that we're supposed to carry everyone else's burdens with a smile. And the funny thing is, we even tried, of course, like us, we try to turn it into a part of our story that's beautiful, that's wonderful about us, especially through the 80s into 90s, y'all. That's what we were doing. I'm Gen X, my big old age. I'm 52. That's what we're doing. We tried to turn it into, I'm a strong Black woman. There's even a little white girl on the internet that says, when I grew up, I want to be a strong Black woman. And at first, of course, we're like, oh, that's so cute. Oh, and when we hear memes and things like people tell their children, if you're ever in trouble by yourself, look for a Black woman. Look for a Black woman. Because again, that's our job, right? Like that's what we're supposed to do. And y'all, I'm free from this now. I'm free from this, between my life's journey, my education, traveling the world. I'm just being a Black woman that's enlightened and evolved and had the resources, hallelujah, for therapy. I'm past a lot of this. I've learned how to release guilt. That's another reason I'm on here talking, because I want to get us there, and I want to get us there fast. We've taken these things. We've taken the garbage, the scraps. Again, all this is legacy of slavery. We take the scraps, the way we took the chitlins, the way we scrounged and we grew what we could, collard greens, peanuts, whatever. We took whatever we could. We took the scraps and we made this beautiful, delicious food out of it. That's what we tried to do with these myths. The Black Superwoman. We tried to take it and turn it into something beautiful. We tried to alchemize it. We did alchemize it. And we should be grateful for our survival strategies. They've gotten us this far, and damn, aren't we looking good and just shining bright, even with all of this insanity that's all around us. The truth of the matter is, though, we did what we had to do in those survival times, but the truth is, those aren't beautiful, virtuous things. The guilt is not beauty. The guilt is not virtue. The strong Black woman, that's not beauty. That's not virtue. That's control. When you're too busy being strong for everybody else, you don't have time to rest. We don't have time to dream or to frolic. We're going to be doing some frolicking over the next 4 years. We don't have time for any of that. All of that is by design. And y'all, the stress from this constantly performing, this strength, it's killing us. By age 45, almost half of Black women show signs of high allostatic load. And all that is a fancy way of saying that our bodies are breaking down from chronic stress. By 65, it's over 80%. There's nothing virtuous about being sick and overworked while the world keeps taking from you. And I want us to talk about where the guilt really shows up. It's not just the world out here demeaning our labor. It's our own communities, y'all. It's our own churches, our own inner voices. Let's get into that next. And while we do that, I want you to take a second for yourself. This podcast, hey, it's Halicue. When y'all hear me say that, when y'all hear me say, hey, it's Halicue, I want that sound to trigger rest in you. It's time to rest. It's time to breathe. Let yourself receive this message. Take a moment. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. So breathing through a straw. Shake your shoulders, make some rainbows, with your nose, release. Let some of that go. And if you need more of these conversations, I want y'all to join my Substack. Go on over there. It's the Hey, it's Halicue community. Let's chat. Let's text. Let's do some notes. Give me your funny videos. I'll give you mine back. Talk to me. Let's go live together. Let's get over there. We're talking about it. It is a safe space for us. We're building a soft, a joyful, and a restful revolution. Come join me over there. Oh, this guilt, y'all, it's strategic. They want us stuck in fear. They want us stuck in sadness. They want us scared. And we're going to have to release this fear. And a big part of releasing fear is releasing guilt. It's a strategy they've used to control us. Why? For those of you that think I'm going too far with this off top, trying to listen, and that's okay. Yeah, we're going to work through it. We're going to work through it together. That's okay. Question me. We're smart. If there's any demographic that still knows how to think critically and research, it's Black women. So that's okay. Question me if you need to. Halicue, why would they do that? Oh, girl. First of all, slavery. Second of all, our melanin is basically the most valuable substance on earth. We are the source. So everybody's got a vested interest in controlling us. Everybody's got a vested interest in using us. They want us stressed. They want us tired. They want us overworked because a joyful Black woman is a threat. Happy Black woman is a threat. We're vibing at our highest. We're at we're at the height of our power, right? A rested Black woman is unpredictable. She's creative. She's free. Guilt keeps us fenced in mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So we stay small, so we stay manageable, so they can control the output of our energy. And so that's why they'll use guilt. They fear a strong, healthy Black woman that's free. When we're free, when we're not burdened with guilt and other people's burden, we're working for ourselves. That's why that moment after the election was so powerful. We all of a sudden said, yeah, I got it. And you're not going to make us feel guilty about it. Even if you do, we're still going to repudiate it. And y'all, I'm so sorry. Nowhere is this more obvious than in the church. And y'all, I grew up in a church. I grew up in two churches. The church that I mainly grew up in was actually a very loving, wonderful church. It was Pine View Presbyterian. It was tiny, tiny, tiny little Presbyterian USA church in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We had a very beautiful, loving church family. It was part of that church family that made me feel like I had some semblance of a whole family, like after my mother's divorce. But how many of us were raised to believe that being self-sacrificing is holy? I mean, that's something that the church said. A little less so in my little church, Pine View Presbyterian in Hattiesburg, but woo, goodness, at my grandmother's church, where I also spent a lot of time, Bethlehem Baptist Church in another town in Mississippi, that I definitely learned there that guilt is somehow tied to virtue. Oh, that guilt was tied to virtue, let me tell you. Guilt isn't holy. Guilt is a hustle. It keeps us working and serving and apologizing for even wanting a moment. And I think that church is where I saw women treated so disproportionately to the men. Women did everything, doing all the cleaning of the church, all the usher boarding, the secretary. My goodness, she was the hardest working woman at that church. My grandmother was always doing something. We're always doing something for the church. If anybody remembers what Vacation Bible School is, oh my goodness, the women were the ones doing it. And then they had the nerve to tell us that we had to be dressed a certain way and had to have all these restrictions before we could even walk into the sanctuary. Don't even get me started. They kept us working, serving, apologizing. So that's where I saw it the most growing up, teaching me that joy was a sin, laughing was a sin, taking time for myself is a sin. Where I was taught that you always think of other people before you think of yourself first, Black woman. You should always be thinking about what you're doing for other people first. I was told that very explicitly. But I know now that joy isn't a sin. Frolicking, having free time as a Black woman, as a mother, as a wife is not a sin. Resting doesn't make you any less worthy in God's eyes. If you can believe anything I say, please believe that. And that's just how I feel about that. I'm just going to be honest about that. But to me, the real tragedy of guilt is how it silences us. It makes Black women suppress our emotions. It makes us suppress our anger, our hurt feelings. We get to have hurt feelings and we get to say our feelings are freaking hurt. But how many of us, like me, were taught, don't say that, it makes you seem weak. Our feelings matter. Our lives matter. Yes, that's such a given. I'm tired of even saying that. Of course our lives matter. They matter the most, really. But our feelings matter too. And guilt makes us suppress our hurt feelings. They keep us quiet about saying out loud and expressing how we've been done wrong. We cut off our own voices in that way. And for those of us that are creators, that are creatives, that's freaking devastating. As Black women, as members of the 92%, our voice, our visibility are vital to who we are. When we silence ourselves, we choke off our ability to create and to laugh and to live fully in this human experience. Man, it's like they can only take a truly creative, loud, expressive, artistic Black woman in tiny, tiny, tiny little increments. The world loves a quiet Black woman. You know, I love that SNL skit where, like, when white people realized that Beyonce was Black, when she got enough fame, she had enough crossover. She's like, and by the way, I'm Black. I'm a mix. Creole and a Texas Bama, Black, I'm blickety black, black. And how white people were like so shocked. Like they were so able to just take Beyonce when they didn't have to think about her Blackness. I'm going to give us some strategies to break free from this guilt, from this trap, and we're going to reclaim our joy. But first, let's talk about why joy and laughter are essential, especially for those of us that are artists, that are creatives. It's not optional. And if you are feeling this, I want you to go ahead and I want you to subscribe to Hey, It's Halicue on YouTube, because we're about to get all the way free. I'm telling y'all, when we can release this guilt, we're going to get all the way free. Okay, as we're coming into the home stretch, I just want us to be absolutely clear. And I don't know if I've said this as loudly and as clearly as I can. Guilt and joy cannot coexist. For Black women, for us, the 92%, let's go ahead and just get clear on this together. Guilt and joy cannot coexist. Guilt is like a vine that wraps itself around your happiness and it chokes it off, right? Like ivy, bamboo, they're very beautiful. They're very beautiful. I'm an AKA, I love ivy. But out of control, it can choke off the rest of your landscaping. Right? It can completely take over. And that's why I want us to think about it. When we are stuck in guilt, there is no room for laughter. There's no space for rest. There's no energy to be creative. And that is the point. That is what we are reclaiming. That's what we're going to have for the first time in this nation as a collective as Black women. A joyful Black woman is unpredictable. She's free from the narratives that try to define her. Aren't we all tired of that? And that terrifies them. That's why even these other marginalized communities, that's why a lot of us said we never even wanted to be called people of color or be involved in that nomenclature and that moniker. Because even now they are turning towards us and they're trying to use guilt just the way the oppressor does. That terrifies people. People are terrified. Wait. What you mean Black women? Wait. What you mean Black women aren't running to the front of the fight first? What you mean y'all not holding hands and singing at the march? If y'all aren't holding hands and singing at the march, is there even a march? If y'all aren't putting each other in front of the Mango Mussolini's firing squad, like, wait, nothing's going to get done. We're about to break free from this. How do we break free from it? First of all, and again, get out your pens and pencils, get out your phones, okay? Get out your notes app, get out your digital journal. This is what you're going to start doing. We are going to start questioning the stories we've been told about guilt and virtue. We're going to start thinking about, ask yourself, anytime anyone tries to make you feel guilty, who benefits from you feeling guilty? Here's a hint, it's not you, okay? Number 2, we're going to give ourselves permission to rest, permission to say no. We're giving it to ourselves. We're grown. And for those of us that have daughters, we're giving it to our daughters. They get to take a freaking nap, okay? If doing the dishes or whatever is a part of their chore, they can get to it later. But make sure she's rested. We're going to start modeling that for our honey bunnies. And we can't do that without doing it for ourselves first. So we're giving ourselves permission to say no. If those of you, if you take more of a spiritual stance the way I do, you're interested in using different spiritual tools, look up human design. It helps you make decisions. It helps you learn how to decide what you're going to say no to very quickly. If you need somebody, I can give you the name of a beautiful, gorgeous Black woman that's a practitioner. Her name is Ariana Maag, M-A-A-G, Ariana, A-R-I-A-N-N-A, Maag, M-A-A-G. Look her up. We're going to give ourselves permission to say no. And we're going to start building a joy practice every day. We're going to do one thing that brings us joy. And this week, we're going to be doing a guided journaling practice over on Substack to help you rewrite your guilt narratives and create space for joy. So I want you to go over there and make sure you're signed up. Go over to Hey, It's Halicue over on Substack. That's our podcast community. That's where we hang out together. It's going to be so cool. So grateful as a Black woman I live in this time where we have all of these wonderful things and these resources that are available to us for free to create these communities for each other. You're going to hear over and over and over, especially these other people that are trying to make us feel guilty. They're going to talk about, but we need to be in community. They need to be in community with themselves. We are going to be in community with ourselves. And the way this podcast, Hey, it's Halicue, is going to stay in community with each other is over on Substack. Go join right now. Guilt is not our friend, Black women. If you are a member of the 92%, and I know you are, that's why you're here, that's why you're listening to the podcast, or if you're not a member of the 92%, but you support us, you support Black women resting, you're welcome to. If you support Black women resting, you want to share resources with us, you want to support us, you want to give us money, you want to give us gifts, you want to give us good energy, you're welcome to. I'll say that. You're welcome. You're welcome to. Okay. Our final takeaway: guilt is not our friend. Guilt is not our guide or our moral compass. It is something that has been used as a tool by the oppressor to keep us small. And anybody trying to you with guilt is trying to keep you small. They're trying to keep us controlled. They're trying to keep us predictable. And that's another reason. That's how I know our cause is righteous and we are on the right path, because they are stressed. You all do not understand the way that they are stressed, that we are taking this stance and we're saying, no, y'all figure it out for yourselves. The answer is no. No is a complete sentence. We're not all this. And you're going to hear, here's a little buzzword you're going to hear, or the phrases you're going to hear. Why is no one doing anything? When are people going to get mad enough to do something? What they're really saying is, when are Black women going to show up and get visible and take on this burden of leading us out of this insanity? And when are Black women going to start working to get us through this? That's what they mean. Okay. So when they say that, that's what they're saying. And whenever they say it, throw it right back at them. If they have the gall or the nerve to get in your face and ask and say or wonder aloud, because they do that a lot. They wonder aloud a lot. Like, I wonder why no one's doing anything. What can we do? When you hear that, ask them, yeah, why haven't you done anything? Why haven't you? We're a tiny percent of the population of these United States now. We run everything. This nation was built on our back. We are the vibe. We are the culture. I get that. But we're not doing it anymore. Okay? We're not doing that anymore. That's the little practical information I want y'all to know. That's what that is. And whenever you hear that, put it right back at them and guess, yeah, why haven't you done anything? We're a tiny percent of the population. Why don't y'all do something? If all of y'all got together, the 52% of you that voted for the situation that we find ourselves in now, why don't you do something about it right now? You all doing something about it together right now could fix it right now. Leave us out of it. Seriously. Put on RBF and just sit back and be like, yeah, it's a good question. Why haven't you all done anything about it? Oh, y'all. I love y'all so much. I'm so glad we got to have this time together. If this episode spoke to you at all, make sure you subscribe to my Substack. You're going to enjoy this space so much. We're going to be talking about pop culture. We're going to be talking about the tea, because I love talking about archetypes, especially us as Black women. There are so many archetypes that are illustrated through our faves and like what's going on in the zeitgeist out there. I want you all to get into this week's journaling practice. We're looking into and journal about it however you want to journal about it. Do a digital journal. We're getting into this week's journaling practice over there on Substack, and we're going to build a community where Black women are free to rest and frolic unapologetically. This is just the beginning for us. I love you all the love in my heart to the beautiful, the bold, the brilliant Black women of the 92%. And to everybody else, I want you to have the day that you voted for. This is Hey, it's Halicue, signing out.